Hello, everybody. It is Renee, and I am super excited tonight to be able to connect with Christine Barnes, Dr. Christine Barnes. She's from Australia, and I've been following her online, and I reached out to her a couple months ago because I love sharing holistic practitioners. I love what they do, and I love that they heal our whole body. They look at everything, and so with what we're going through right now, I really wanted to bring someone on that could give us a perspective on all of our health, not only our bodies, but our minds. And so, Christine, welcome. And I'll let you tell us a little bit about your background. I had a lot of fun reading it.
Nice to meet you, Renee. And I think it's good evening there.
It is good evening. Yeah.
So it's late morning here in Australia. It's a beautiful, crystal clear day. I'm a naturopath here in Australia. And it's been a long road to get to the point that I'm at in my life in working with the types of cases that I like to do. And of course, along comes COVID. That's a surprise to a lot of people. Thankfully, I was already 80% online working with patients in most countries. And then once COVID hit, we went, of course, 100% online. So now I work worldwide. It gets a bit tricky with all the time differences, but we do the best we can. And really happy that I'm in the industry that I'm in and able to help people with their immune systems so they've got resilience against not just this particular virus, but any viruses that pop up.
Well, I know that I'm in California. And I know that both of our countries have really had a lot of countries had some difficult stuff, but we're still shut down. How is the health of your country?
Yeah, well, it's very much a mixed bag because we're, like you guys, we're such a big country, and Victoria's still in pretty strong lockdown of stage 4. And then we've got different states who are in various ranges of lockdown. And then even crossing borders is problematic. So it's actually from day to day quite confusing. And because I'm treating patients Australia-wide, even getting product has delivered to patients has been challenging. So we're in this total state of, we don't know when it's going to arrive. Now, where are you again? And what's the government guideline? It's so confusing for practitioners and patients and the general public alike, let alone knowing what we're allowed to do when. So luckily in Queensland, we've had very minimal cases. However, having said that, my mum's in an aged care facility, and seriously, the confusion there for the elderly is terrible because just yesterday they went back into full lockdown within the centre itself, just to protect the elderly. I understand why, but they're like not in lockdown, and then the next week they're in lockdown. So there's these subsets of restrictions, and of course the knock-on effect with everything and everyone. So yeah, I think worldwide it's one of the few situations where worldwide we've had a similar confusion, similar scenario. At some stage, all of us have experienced some level of lockdown.
Yeah. It's we're going on 6 months here in California. We're probably the state that locked down the most. We locked down the earliest, and we're still locked down. So we won't talk about that.
Yeah. Stuff.
Okay, so on that subject, for months now, the coronavirus has been dominating our lives. And tell me, what are the top questions that you are getting? And for everybody watching, tell us where you're watching from. Tell us if you're live. Tell us if you're in the replay. But also, if you have questions, put them into the comments. You know, we're really focusing on health, and Dr. Barnes, she works all over the world. So if you hear something tonight and you want to connect with her, I will be putting her information in the conversation and comment section.
Thanks, Renee. Well, certainly when in the early days of COVID, we were absolutely slammed with questions from our patients who just wanted protection, how to avoid. Now, officially, as far as TGA in this country, FDA in your country, naturopaths can't have opinions about how to treat COVID. So you'll hear me talk about things, and of course, what I'm looking at applying is how to actually build up your level of wellness against any virus. Yeah. So COVID is a specific one that officially we can't have an opinion of. So, but certainly one of the things that we started putting in place for a lot of my patients were specific herbs that we formulate, and of course nutrients to help boost the immune system, but that didn't contribute to a cytokine storm that is associated with viruses like COVID. So there's certain nutrients that one has to be a bit cautious of. Now, it's a bit tricky because those same nutrients have helpful immune boosting protection factors. So the take-home message here is, if one is diagnosed with COVID, and of course I can't diagnose, that needs to be a medical allopathic diagnosis, one needs to be mindful of, you may need to go home and rethink your nutritional support, because what we traditionally would help patients with supporting and boosting immune system may not be that helpful with COVID, but may be helpful with other viruses and respiratory conditions. So yeah, really confusing, isn't it? So it can be a challenge. But one thing, and I know, Renee, that I noticed that you're really into high-level wellness and weight management and things like that. And when we're seeing some of these cases reported where they have got very severe illness as a result of COVID, and some people unfortunately, sadly, didn't survive, most of those people were not in a high level of wellness. So, that I think is the really important thing. And that's the gap that, Renee, you and I are filling in a lot of the work that we do, is to, wherever you're at in your health journey, there's always that next level that you can go. You can eat better, you can manage stress better, you can lose a couple of kilos if that's appropriate for you. You might need to put a couple of kilos on if you're underweight, but just getting that high level of wellness. And that's from, all the things that we all talk about in the natural medicine and wellness coaching, is managing stress, a big one. It was a very stressful morning for me. We were running late. Technology was not working for me. So I'm aware that later today I'm going to need to do some stress management, but we all can. But that's about resilience and building resilience. And then the next step is getting very individualized. I think a lot of people have heard about zinc and its role. And so I'm hearing a lot of people that are, taking lots and lots of zinc. Now, I find that a little bit concerning and alarming, because zinc has a relationship also with copper, and we can drive our copper levels too low. What do we need copper for? Our beautiful skin and our hormones. So if our copper is being driven too low because we are theoretically supporting our nervous system, our immune system, to get protection against COVID, that might have negative consequences. So there's a lot of things that are going on. I'm seeing that people are doing self-care, self-treatment, good on them, but it does concern me a little bit.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you also. The first we went into our lockdown on March 5th, March. Well, we were kind of going into it. I was up in the Northern California Bay Area, and I was with a friend, and I had been reading about zinc, of course, and there's a little spray called TheraZinc, and so I said, hey, I'm going to run out to the store, and I'm just going to run over to the Whole Foods and get you some. And it was shocking to me that the entire vitamin C and D shelf was gone.
It was empty, yes. Same
and
thing.
and
Yeah.
yeah, and I posted out there and I said, hey guys, I love that you're becoming aware, but building your immunity happens over time. And so this is a big wake up call to all of us to be working on our systems every day. And of course, you and I both know it starts with nutrition and
Yes.
and organic nutrition and what we put in our bodies. And then from there we can, go to some holistic and, good supplementation and what have you. But I was shocked that, people thought that they could just start taking 5,000 milligrams of vitamin C and that was going to, save them. And so, working on our immune system every day. You just mentioned stress. Stress is huge, and all of our kids here in California, the vast majority of them are now going to be schooling from home. I know that over the last 6 months, a lot of my clients have really, they've battled with a few things, being at home and that whole kind of like our being is tied to what we do for a living, and it's tied to our friends and our community and people we share time with. And I know that I used to own a yoga, Pilates, and gyrotonic studio. So when I was reading your bio, we obviously have some real things in common. But tell us how you coach your clients on managing stress, reducing stress. What are your top things that how you help people?
Well, lifestyle management, I mean, that is really the key. Most of us are doing way too much. We're filling our days, our lives with so much. I think what's been really interesting is there's been some positive outcomes I've noticed with some of my patients where they're really enjoying being at home and not having that pressure to go and do lots of things for and with the kids and social and everything. So there have been some great positives that I'm hoping we all remember on the other side of all of this. But one of the top things that I recommend people do is walk for 30 minutes a day minimum. So we know from research that that helps with digestion, it helps with mood, let's face it, it changes our day. Now, not so easy when we're in a level of lockdown when we can't leave the house. So we need to manage that side of things. But there's different ways of doing that. We all have access to YouTube. It may not be walking. It may be just to do a simple relaxation technique or mindfulness technique. Even we just did a project where we gave away a lot of gratitude diaries to help our patients. And so just literally taking that time out and focusing on what we have to be thankful. We again know from research that that's really helpful in our mood and improves our overall immunity and helps our digestion, just showing gratitude for things. And as having a bit of a yoga background, a lot of those techniques, we as yogis, we stop, we be mindful. I've got to say, I'm not always good at this, but mindful of who made the food, where it came from, chewing it mindfully, and staying calm, not taking that stressed, rushed feeling into some of those basic daily things. But beyond that, breathing techniques. I've got a range of CDs. I'll have to send you one, Renee. Yeah, where there's everything there from a guided 12-minute, what I call express relax. So you just stop, lay down on the floor, plug me in, and I guide you to consciously letting go of certain things. Really good to do after, you finish the work day and let go of the work stress. But even a 6-minute breathing technique can be really helpful. Again, guided. We don't all have the ability to go to a yoga class anymore. So, hey, take advantage of what's online and what's available from that perspective. So, integrating some of these things, but also being mindful of what stresses us, what isn't serving us well, and if it doesn't serve us well, can we change things? Now, this is the big stuff, isn't it? This is the really big, conscious, hard to do stuff. And certainly, if I see habit patterns with patients that, we might try and change some of those thought patterns, behaviors, because we all cause our own stress, really, a lot of it outside of, the world events, of course, but, how we deal with them. One thing I did was I just turn the TV off. I can't watch and monitor how many people are dying and falling unwell and all that. I have to filter that out a bit. It doesn't mean I don't stay abreast of what's going on, but I keep it fairly minimal into the facts, because otherwise I just start getting really anxious and stressed. And I'm not even an anxious style of person or don't have an anxious disposition, but I can see how if one did, that would be really affect everything. So yeah, definitely, lifestyle change. If we find that doesn't come easy, I've got some great colleagues that I refer on to specifically talk about some of those aspects, because we all have difficulty making change. I know I do. So, I respect that sometimes that needs someone to really distill down and focus in. I mean, you do a lot of coaching, Renee, so I don't know whether you find that sometimes that, that's the hard stuff. Easy stuff is taking a supplement, I think.
Well, yes, absolutely. And I think the key thing in as we've transitioned our business, I had already been doing a fair amount of virtual coaching, but mostly just clients that had moved around the country. Maybe, I'm from Silicon Valley, so, maybe Google or Apple or whoever moved them somewhere else. And so, we would still meet online. But, then we had to move all of our clients online. And like you said a little bit earlier, I'm a fairly introverted person. So it really didn't bother me. I actually really love it. I took my spare bedroom and said, okay, this will be pretty behind me. And I sit here sometimes for 12 hours. I'll be here talking with clients and helping them. And I have to say that the virtual coaching has been really effective, because people can meet me from anywhere. If they're on vacation, they can take 20 minutes out of their day to still stay focused on their goals, and to, if they're having a moment, to do a little refocus session with me. I'm more about weight loss, wellness, good supplementation. I'm not the wonderful, practitioner. I wish I had studied all of that and segued that way. But, we all come from different places, and I love coaching my clients. And I do encourage my clients, if you're having that, you can't stop the stress, to work with a practitioner, and maybe you need to connect with a counselor that you've used before or what have you. And I love your point about turning the media off, because that's something I read a book, oh gosh, probably almost 20 years ago. Dr. Andrew Weil wrote a book, and I remember reading it, and he had like the top 10 things for being living your best life, or whatever it was. And one of them was turning the media off, which I did. And a lot of times my friends make fun of me. They say, oh yeah, you live in a bubble, girl, or what have you. But,
a happy bubble.
Absolutely. And I filter that. And I think that that's a really difficult thing. And if you're out there watching, take a week where you just, shut the TV off and don't read the newspaper, or don't listen to the radio. And then on one day you pick and you use an hour or so of some of that just to catch up and then see how you feel. Because I have to tell you, it does make a huge difference. So one of the things that I wanted to see how you are working with your patients, we have a lot of kids in school that are online now, and a lot of parents that are now having to be teachers, and a whole, they're not only are they working from home, but now the kids are in the household trying to go to school, and there's a lot of anxiety happening and mental health issues. There's a lot of, suicide attempts and different things that are happening to our young people. They're feeling a bit hopeless. What's your advice in that area?
Well, that's a really big topic, Renee. It's just such a big one. We could be talking about that all day. I think the first step is to identify for yourself, and that's not an easy thing to do, I might add. But if you can identify, is this just the next stage of what you were already feeling? Was your level of mental health needing some level of support even before COVID, stuck at home, exhausted from teaching kids and working and, doing everything that we now have multiple hats on, especially, if you're in that high level of lockdown? It's just identifying, was this going on to a certain extent before? And if so, was this really something that's just had an aggravator, being in this stressful environment and tired from being teacher and worker and mum and dad and everything else? And reaching out. One of the interesting aspects, as you mentioned, about going online and how successful that is to be able to support such a huge number of people, as convenient as those people need, is there was some research done a few years back on from psychologists and counsellors about the difference between doing distant consulting and how effective that was for mental health. And they actually found that it brought better outcomes. So I think that first step is identify, and just get clear for yourself. And that might be just sitting down without media and without everything, the noise of the world going on, and going, did I have some element of this low mood or anxiety, pre-COVID? And if so, obviously COVID's going to make everything just more challenging, for a lot of people. And then just thinking, okay, what's the solution? And then reaching out. And as I say, I've got some great colleagues that I refer my patients to that use Skype, Zoom, all sorts of, sometimes they use clinic software, telehealth like I use. There's this platform, there's so many different platforms that we can use these days, but to connect and be there. I think one of the outcomes of that research on distant consulting for psychological support was that people feel comfortable when they're in their own environment at home. I don't know how you're feeling, Renee, but I'm certainly much more comfortable here in my own office, my own little bubble, compared to when I've been interviewed by the media and I've gone and travelled there and I'm on set and doing that sort of thing. That I find really stressful, and somebody else is telling me where I should be and all that sort of thing. So I'm sure that our clients feel more comfortable at their home. Now, sometimes I'm seeing patients and they're on their phone doing telehealth in their car. Yeah. So
well, it's quiet in there.
Yeah. Well, house full of kids and activity and everything. Sometimes you need to go to a different office, and now the car is the office, or, sometimes it's all sorts of places. But, I suppose my point is identify where you're at. Now's a great time to go. There are no barriers to getting support. And if that might mean starting with, okay, what's possible underlying driver? It might be health-wise, and we can look at that. Let's face it, there's a lot of things that cause us less resilient about stress, So that could be some nutritional gaps. It might be that you're doing a great job nutritionally and you're eating great food and it's organic, but you're still not making that leap to becoming more resilient about stress events, because we all have them. I've had them this morning, as everybody. But the thing is about having resilience and then being able to let it go and get on with life and it not really affecting you ongoing. And sometimes there can be some nutritional barriers. We know that zinc copper ratio is really important for managing anxiety, gut health, all sorts of things. But heavy metals can be an obstacle, can give us this hyper sort of feeling. So we're already on edge. Even when we're calm, we're on edge. A thyroid that's overactive can make us hyper and overproduce cortisol. Equally, an underfunctioning thyroid can make us anxious as well. And Renee, I'm sure, your work with weight management, you come across that mixture of underactive thyroid, equaling anxiety and putting on weight. So my take-home message is reach out, Renee, me, somebody, and know that you can get help, and whether that be tackling it from a foundational nutritional and individualized nutritional aspect or gut health aspect, or actual talk therapy. So many tools counsellors have these days that they're using. There's tapping, mindfulness, CBT, so much that they've got in their toolbox that can help. And no matter what the work is that you do in this area, it also has a knock-on effect with things like oxidative stress, so how we age. Yeah. So the less stress we have, the less oxidative stress, the better the skin, the better our gut health is usually from less stress. So we metabolize food better. We don't then pack on those pounds around the middle. There's so many different positive outcomes that when we manage life overall better.
Yeah, you're speaking my language. I'm always talking about all of those subjects, and you're right. I do work with a lot of almost invariably. I have ladies that haven't taken care of themselves. They've been taking care of their kids, their families, their husbands, their career. They've got all that down. They're in complete control of all of that, and then we have the spiraling of not taking care of ourselves, and slowly, I'm diagnosed with low thyroid. I'm diagnosed with this. I'm diagnosed with that. I have IBS. I have this. I have that. And, it really does start in the gut. And I love that you mentioned that, because a lot of people are, they go to their doctor. The doctor gives them some Xanax, some Prozac, some this, some that. Yeah. Whereas if they worked with a health practitioner, yourself, myself, whomever, they would find that just changing the diet changes things. Just cleaning up the health of the interior of their digestive tract changes things. And these are not simple changes. They don't happen, it's much easier to take a bar of Xanax, right? But in reality, we both know that long-term effect of that bar of Xanax, that Ambien, Prozac, all of these, Wellbutrin or whatever it is that they're handing out, the long-term effect is not going to be pretty.
Yeah. And sometimes we need pharmaceuticals. I'm not anti-pharmaceuticals. I can't prescribe them because I'm a naturopath, not an allopathic doctor. But often my patients arrive with what we call polypharmacy. It might be one pharmaceutical, it might be, they're using a pharmaceutical to manage mood or anxiety. It could be a proton pump inhibitor because they've got a bit of reflux. There's a wide range of pharmaceuticals, of course, that people may need to be on short term, but it's not addressing the underlying cause. But, also, I like to give doctors a bit of a break. They've only got a narrow range of pharmaceuticals in their toolbox. They're actually not generally, there are some doctors that are trained in nutrition, of course, but, it's not generally their forte. So I often say to my patients, I go, but why did my doctor suggest that? And I go, well, that's sort of like asking, the architect to put the frame up with, don the tools of the hammer and nails. I like to use car analogies and building, houses analogies for things, because how we work is sort of quite different. We both work in the natural, we both work in health, in human health, but our tools of trade are quite different. And how we view the case is always different as well. Whereas when somebody comes to me and they go, oh, I've got this problem with my, my bowel motions or something like that. And often as part of that questioning, I'll be asking about diet, what that looks like, what their health history is, what their parents' health history is, and what their grandparents' health history is. So I'm starting to look for patterns genetically. So we can sort of see, is there an epigenetic issue here? But also I'm asking about mental health. Have they ever felt anxious? Is there any, obsessional thoughts or negative thoughts, or how do they deal with this situation when something might happen? So, we're looking at things more holistically, because it's not just about the food we intake, it's about how we're feeling and how we then absorb that food. And then overlaying all of that, we've got to look at the individual's case. And, again, getting back to the example of zinc and COVID and all that sort of thing, some people are actually low in both zinc and copper. Some people, and so what can happen if you take a pile of zinc, you can drive your copper too low, make you more anxious. So you can be anxious from too high a copper or too low. Infuriating, isn't it? Absolutely infuriating, human health. But also what can happen is that we may have gut issues that are an obstacle. Often I look at the diet and analyze it, and I go, well, you're having lots of sources of zinc. Let's say it's zinc. And I go, but, what's going on there? And sometimes we discover, and these days we can test our microbiome and, really highly individualize things to find out what's going on for that person. And that's where, no two cases are necessarily alike. There might be superficially, zinc in general helps support mood and immunity, and supports women's hormones, men's hormones, fertility, all sorts of things. But, should everybody be on zinc? Should they all be on the same dose, same type of zinc? So should some people be on zinc and copper? These are things that nowadays we can actually investigate. And I generally like to get a real baseline to sort of know what that underlying terrain is. I use a lot of testing of what used to be used for forensic investigation. I use hair tissue mineral analysis to find out. So it's non-invasive, easy to do with kids, all that sort of thing, to find out what one's previous 6 months of nutritional absorption was. Because we can actually have a beautiful diet, and I've seen this occasionally where I go, oh, this doesn't make sense. We've got this person that's got no nutritional levels, everything's on the floor, but their diet is fabulous. And, what's going on there? So sometimes it is stress that is the problem, that is creating a problem with our microbiome and not allowing the stomach acid to be nice and strong to break down that food. And the body's then in what I call fight or flight. We want to stand and fight. So we've got to take that energy from the digestion to fight or run. And so this is where this stress management comes in. So one can have beautiful diet, and look, definitely I think that's very important to focus on. But if we aren't feeling calm, sometimes the energy is taken from the digestion, and the body thinks, it's the old brain, of survival, of, it's stress because the phone's ringing too much, because we're looking at the media and we're like, one more person's died of COVID, and more people, So this cortisol's just running rampant. The energy to produce that's got to come from somewhere. So the body takes it from the digestion, because it takes a lot of energy to digest food. So, first step, great food, stress management, all the basics, and then,
Yeah. So All of this speaks to my heart. A little, anybody that's followed me knows that I, about 7 years ago, had some severe mercury poisoning, and I got very, very ill. And so, I've since then just study, and then I can better help my clients. And I know your path, similar to your own journey, and then studying and kind of re-engineering your career to head over into this naturopathic world, which I love. Last but not least, I noticed that your website says that you really specialize in complex cases. So I would love if you could just tell us a little bit about those kinds of things, what you really, how you really work with people, and some of the things that maybe people will identify with as they're watching this broadcast.
Good question. The types of cases that I discovered that I was attracting and that I did well with, because I really like the puzzle. Yeah. So, I know a lot of practitioners, they're looking at, really targeting in on certain things. So there's SIBO specialists, there's heavy metal specialists, there's all these different things. And I respect those people. It would be a lot easier for me to manage business day to day, doing that type of business model. However, I actually, I'm in the industry because of what turns me on, equally as much as to serve the community. And one of the aspects that really keeps me interested is when somebody sends me through this case and they've got heavy metal poisoning, SIBO, they've got, either this dysfunctional thyroid on top of, they've got genetics that are confusing for them, and they've done all this work on their health, and they're not, they've been able to make some improvement, but haven't resolved it. So when I started getting those cases, I started going, oh, this is really exciting. Now, I know it sounds really bizarre.
No, I like it. I think it's awesome.
But I get this like, oh, that's an interesting case. How can we, oh, that's a puzzle, because the fact I don't necessarily see the solution up front is exciting to me. So then we started to realize that there are a lot of people out there that were going to all these people and, getting some level of improvement, but not resolution, because sometimes when you're only looking at one aspect of human health, the actual treatment of that one aspect might aggravate another aspect. So, I found that really interesting. And of course, that led me to really focusing in on just doing complex resistant cases. So often it's a minefield for the poor old patient, and they're going, I've got all these tests. So what I do is I'm actually looking at all those test results. Now, if somebody doesn't have those tests, it's not necessarily that they need them. I like to look at every case individually, and often we're looking for that baseline in relationship to their symptoms. What's the best test to give us a clear pathway forward, rather than just being recipe-like with our treatment. So, so we're looking at all those tests individually, analysing them, then we cross-reference it all. And we go, we've got this particular part of your health that's important to treat, but we can't treat it yet because it might be something else that's going on. So we then start looking at a pathway forward to bring resolution. That's my goal, is resolution where possible, and in a lot of cases it is possible. But I had a case that I've just started working with in the last few weeks. Really interesting case. I thought got me very excited, and I could see that this person was really loading up on a lot of supplements that all of the testing that he'd done thus far justified, but it was putting pressure on his liver, and his liver test results were not good. So we basically did a process of taking everything away, and distilling down and working with the liver first and focusing on that, because then actually rolling out the next phases of treatment would bring better results. But the liver was chugging along, and so therefore he needed those supplements for treatment for all these other results that we were seeing, but he was not getting good results with that. And within, and look, everybody's different, and I'm not saying I have a miracle cure for anyone, but we could see in that particular case, really within a week, he had, 5% improvement just by making some simple adjustments. So, but very complex case. And, I think that particular patient has done a great job with his own treatment in between practitioners, but pulling it all together can be really challenging. But I love it. I love doing it.
Well, it's such a breath of fresh air to talk with you, and yes, I've been to probably 5 or 6 of my own different practitioners, and I've honed it down to 2, but I definitely had to go to someone to help me chelate the mercury, and the mercury triggered my Graves, and the mercury triggered Epstein-Barr and Lyme's. And, people get really, really frustrated. And I can remember even, I had chronic fatigue. I would go to bed every day at 4 o'clock, and all I would do is, I'd put my little guy in bed next to me, and he would read his things to me from 4th grade or, whatever, and we would manage. But people don't realize what people are going through, and we don't even realize ourselves that there's something wrong. And someone will say to you, well, that's just part of aging. I was around 50 when that happened, 8 years ago. And I because I do what I do, I guess I was just so aware of, no, this isn't right. We don't have to feel this way. I know that just because I'm 50 doesn't mean I should gain weight around my middle. I should feel fatigued. I should be exhausted and want to just go to sleep. And, I know that this isn't right. And so, encouraging people to keep looking for the right practitioner, keep looking for the source of what's going on, and knowing that, kind of managing our health becomes, I don't want to say it's a job, but it kind of is a job to manage your health.
It's the only vehicle we've got.
Exactly. Yeah, I love it.
We can't trade up. And I think this is the thing that I hear you. It's really sad sometimes. I get a lot of people contact me, and sometimes it's just like, wow, this person has really been struggling for many years. And I feel it's very sad. And I can relate. I was in Europe. I felt very ill. We all need a practitioner. And I mentor practitioners, naturopaths, and I often say you need someone else to be that clinician. You can't see your case. It's not the optimal way to do things. Yes, you want to take responsibility and do as much as you can, but at some point we're better off having, either that coaching or a different viewpoint, or our habit patterns challenged, and look at some things outside of ourselves. But yeah, I agree with you. I think women, more than men possibly, have been told, oh, that's just getting old. I can remember going to an allopathic doctor in my 40s and being told, oh, you need HRT. And I'm like, shouldn't you be testing my hormones? Like, that doesn't seem, just like, isn't that a bit of a misogynist, thing to say? It just seemed weird to me. I can remember being told I had irritable bowel syndrome and appendicitis. And what else did they say? Crohn's. I had bowel cancer. And they wouldn't do. I said, don't you need to do a colonoscopy here? Like, can't we have some science? This shouldn't be a guessing game. So I've been there where people are misdiagnosed, and sort of just gone, you just treat you as a recipe, approach, or put you down that maybe you just need some, HRT,
or some Xanax, or some Prozac.
Oh, goodness gracious, I'm sure that'll come at some point, but watch out, I'm about to turn 60 and,
Well, you look fabulous. And yeah. I love when you said you were talking about your skin, and I get a lot of comments about my skin, and it I don't love everything my skin is doing. Trust me, at almost 59. But the bottom line is our skin reflects what we've done for ourselves internally. And I know we're getting to that hour point here. So, but do you have like some little tips on healthy skin as we age?
Yeah, well,
I know that's not on my list of questions.
That's okay. Look, I'm going to reveal some of my own experience with getting older and making decisions about diet. And I was a vegetarian for 15 years. And at that point, I was starting to sort of look deeper into autism spectrum and gut and psychology and all of that. And when I started connecting the dots of collagen and the benefits for gut health, I started going, that's also going to be helpful for skin and joints and all of that. And I just started, having a conversation with myself and my husband, who had also been a vegetarian for a long time at that point. And, we were vegetarians motivated from different perspectives. Mine was from a yoga background. His was because of mad cow disease in England, because he's English. But we was both vegetarian for a long time, and I just started going, I don't think we're going to age well. If I apply my knowledge on this, I'm going, this doesn't make logic that we actually stay being vegetarians. So I started introducing bone broth, and I started introducing slowly meat. It was like this crazy journey of discovery of food again. So I really think that sometimes we need to look at what fits with us in our genes, our epigenetics, with diet. And look, I know that there are some vegetarians that do well all their life as vegetarian. I actually think it was a huge turnaround for me by reintroducing meat. Now, don't get me wrong, one can eat the wrong types of meat that's prepared the wrong way, that's not ethically raised. I agree we must raise and treat our animals appropriately to care for them and the planet. But some people can do lifelong vegetarianism. But increasingly in my clinic, I'm seeing a lot of long-term vegetarians turn up eventually with some health issue, niggly little things. And we then need to really target our supplementation and really be quite stringent with the diet when it is vegetarian for them to get the most out of it. I keep saying to a lot of my vegetarians, that means you've got to eat vegetables.
I grew up vegetarian, so I was vegetarian for the first 20 years of my life. And I always say I was vegetarian when it wasn't cool to be vegetarian, and we didn't have a Whole Foods, or, I don't know what stores you guys got, but we have Whole Foods and Trader Joe's and all these, health food stores. There was none of that, folks. Nobody was eating tofu.
No, I hear.
Yeah. And I have to tell you, my father, who was he never smoked, he never drank. We were vegetarians for health purposes. And he died of Parkinson's. And I truly believe that had he changed his diet, that outcomes would have been much, much different for his health. Yeah. So we segue way off target here, but Christine, it has been a pleasure, and I'm going to connect with you personally because I think we have a lot to talk about. But would you please let people know how you work with the world, how global Dr. Barnes is, and how they can reach out to you and connect with you.
So easy to visit my website, thebodyguard.com.au, and be guided from there. I like to have an initial complimentary chat first. So be warned, it's not just going right in. I like to make sure we're a good fit and that we're going to get the best outcomes for you. If I'm not a good fit, I'll then look at referring you on if at all possible. So visit my website. And the way we conduct appointments is very similar to what everybody's seeing here. It's via my secure telehealth clinic software, so nobody can jump in. It's all completely encrypted, secure, and we try and work with what's the right time for appointments as much as possible with you. But I'm getting old, so I don't work late at night or very early mornings or anything like that to take care of my own health and sustainability. But certainly, visit my website. You can also visit my Facebook page. I've got a public figure Facebook page, Christine Barnes. And I also have a clinic page, Facebook page, The Bodyguard. Don't get it confused with the movie, The Bodyguard.
Well, I put your website. Excuse me.
Thank you.
Sorry, I put your website up there, and then let me quickly, before you jump off, let me put your Facebook on here so that people can take a look at that. Let's see if there we go. And thank you so much for joining me and for taking the time. We were it's nighttime over here. It's 7 p.m. and I know it's about noontime over in Australia, and love that we can connect across the world. And if you have things that you're really struggling with and you've been a lot of different places, or maybe you haven't even tried to figure them out, book an appointment online with Dr. Barnes, and maybe she can help you find the root of what's going on for you. And it is a journey. And one of the things here in America that I do tell a lot of my clients and people that I connect with is that your insurance is insurance, and that's for emergencies. We do have to be proactive about our health care, and that means we have to be willing to invest in our health care, invest in good whole organic foods, organic meat, invest in the top supplements. I know I carry my own line, and Dr. Barnes has things that she suggests, and then invest in good practitioners that will coach you and help you along your journey. And I refer a lot of practitioners out. I can't do everything myself, so I do that a lot. And I'm so excited to meet you. So take care and have some lunch now. And I'm sure you got lots of busy appointments for the rest of the day.
Lovely to have the opportunity to meet you, Renee, and of course, to have the opportunity to speak to your contacts out there in the big wild world.
Yes, I will be sharing this on the link of our other stream, and we'll do this again, and now we know how to do this. Yeah, all right. Take care. Have a great one. All right. Bye, everybody.